and let us all do we can to build a better future.
So I want to ask this, Jimmy, because as you said originally when we were talking earlier, like you did this and you're like, look, this is a reasonable idea. In fact, it's a really good idea. It has a really good chance of working. This should be this unifying moment. I mean, it must have you've worked with a lot of these people who have just done these obscene things against you. What was that like just for you? Because I know as much as we're talking about how this was a movement and the movement was not you, you were just a spark within the movement that other people joined into. But on a personal level, what's it like when like people that you've worked with for years just betray you to such a degree over something that we're all supposed to agree on?
It's not easy. I don't know what else to say. It's not, but I don't want, it's big deal, right? It shows the soullessness of the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian. And it just, go look at my channel. Look what they did to Julian Assange. The guy's literally being tortured into an inch of his life because he won't give up his sources. And they literally run a hit piece from the CIA, and they agree with it, and they say you can't trust Julian Assange while he's in prison being persecuted to death for doing journalism. So the Young Turks literally turned on journalism.
Yeah.
That's what $24 million will do for you, and a need to get more of that money and their pivot to the center. They threw Julian Assange under the bus. So I'm not in prison, so it makes sense that they would throw me under the bus. So the weird thing was that Cenk Uygur agreed with this publicly in a very strong way. And then 7 days later, he got a call from his manager inside the Democratic Party, or his Jeffrey Katzenberg. Jeffrey Katzenberg, one of the most richest men in the world, one of the most powerful media moguls. And now he's got the Young Turks around his finger. That's an independent news media. That is not. They have a board that those guys sit on, all those venture capitalists that are now on the Young Turks board. They fund Hillary Clinton's campaign as Cenk Uygur was trying to push Bernie. It's ridiculous. So it's revealing, that Ana Kasparian came out and said, yeah, this is a great idea. And of course we should all do this and we should be pressuring politicians. But I want to take this moment that Jimmy Dore is offering this up as a good strategy for the left. I want to take this moment and make it toxic. And I want to smear Jimmy Dore like a high school kid because I'm an immature, a jealous person because, it's obvious. So, and she's not a journalist at all. She doesn't do journalism. She's admitted she won't do journalism. And she just tried to make this moment as toxic as possible to undermine #ForceTheVote and a chance for people to get healthcare, because she has gold-plated healthcare, and so does Cenk Uygur. And I said, Cenk, if you're against #ForceTheVote, to give up your healthcare for you and your family, and then tell me when we should do it. Of course they won't.
Yeah, I just want to kind of keep this focused on TYT. And look, maybe this is going to be a little tough to talk about, but I think we do need to address it. So some time ago, I actually did on Rockfin a movie review of Mad as Hell, which is that biopic on Cenk Uygur and TYT. And, I used to watch the Young Turks religiously a lot. We all did. Yeah. And, I'm going to keep it real. We were inspired to do Hard Lens Media because of what we saw from TYT.
We're all connected through Wolfpack.
Yeah, we've done volunteer for Wolfpack Illinois, and it's been a tough breakaway for us because I never really liked the pathway they went down in 2016.
Yeah.
So I want to just rewind back the clocks to beginning.
And then, isn't it funny that the path they went down in 2016, and then a year later, they got $24 million from Jeffrey Katzenberg, Hillary Clinton's donor and fundraiser?
They passed the test.
It's madness. So I actually kind of want to talk about the environment before, I guess, the 2016 presidential election cycle, when you were there with them, and Cenk and Anna and everyone else, John, and the whole crew. What was the environment, at least before 2016? What was the environment like there at the Young Turks? I mean, because you were talking, especially when you did a couple live streams. You were when you kind of called them out on your show a few days ago. But what was the environment like at the Young Turks before 2016?
And when did you notice the change?
Yeah, when did you notice the change?
Did you see it? Was it something where
they couldn't. It's for some, the environment before, when we were all on the Bernie train and we were outing the corporate media for smearing a progressive candidate, it was great. It was like, this is what I was meant to do. This is fantastic. And we all felt that way. And then it seemed like for whatever reason, Cenk and the rest of the Young Turks could not wait to throw Bernie under the bus and go with Hillary Clinton. I remember it was the New York. I mean, I gave so many speeches like, this is not over.
Yeah.
This is, we keep going. And then remember when Bernie gave a speech and he says, we're going to Philadelphia. We're going to, and I was screaming, yes, we're going to Philadelphia. Let's keep going. They had already given up on Bernie months earlier.
Yeah.
They were not doing that. They were like, no, fuck it. Hillary all the way. Fuck Bernie. Don't go to the fucking convention. They were already in the Hillary. So that's when that was weird to me. I'm like, why? What is in it for you guys to do this? I don't know. It turned out they wanted to get money from Hillary Clinton's donors.
So,
and actually
So let me just say, and then they went on to do Russiagate and McCarthy smear all their political enemies. And then any story that matched up with Russiagate, they would just repeat. Any CIA talking points, they would just repeat. That's why they smeared Julian Assange. They took a complete bullshit article by Luke Harding that was published in the UK, was obvious CIA propaganda. Nobody else reported it like they did. They reported it without any criticism. There was no sources. There was no sources, and Anna Kasparian literally says, they have 2 unnamed sources, and they do that to protect the sources from retribution. Oh, really, Anna? Do you know that there's a guy in jail right now protecting his sources? Yeah. You maybe want to side with that fucking guy instead of the CIA's unnamed sources, which there aren't any. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of bullshit journalism they do. It's not a journalistic outlet. And it was hard for me to bite my tongue for 4 years, and I thought or 3 years, I thought after the Mueller report came out that they would stop doing all that and they would get their head back, and they didn't. And Cenk Uygur he would not admit that he was 1,000% wrong, and he just went from one horse Russiagate to a different. No, I'm saying it's about his financial. It's what Mueller wasn't looking at. So they just made up a whole new conspiracy theory, and of course they get away with it. Like I say on my show, when you lie at the behest of the establishment, there's never a price to pay. So Young Turks have been lying and smearing all their political opponents at the behest of the establishment over the last 4 years, which is why they've never had to pay a price. So I'm finally starting to make them pay a price for that because of what they did to me over #ForceTheVote. I bit my tongue all that time. I bit my tongue. Mm-hmm. And now finally they're going to come out and try to smear my character. Well, I'm going to let everybody know that the Young Turks has absolutely no character. They're not independent media. They're corporate media, and they already made the decision to sell you out. And what do I mean by that? When they got that fucking money from Clinton's donors, an executive at the Young Turks looked me right in the eye and says, Jimmy, we know we have to move to the center. So that's what's going on. There's not and now they're raising money like televangelists. If you send us money, somehow you'll get COVID relief. Send money to the Young Turks so you can get COVID relief. And that's like, and I know you've never let us down before. Where have I heard that before? Oh, that's right, Benny Hinn. You're not going to let Jesus down. We're going to.
Yeah, because Jesus needs that Rolls Royce.
As George Carlin
was down before. You've never let Jesus. That's what the Young Turks say now. You've never let us down before. Send us money and we'll get you COVID relief. They're disgusting, and everybody sees it now.
Yeah. Actually, I would just want to kind of bring things back because there was one incident on the Young Turks that I remember, especially during the 2016 primary. I want you to clarify to the best of your recollection. There we go. Jimmy, got that messed up. But
it was, I think, the moment both of us also pulled away from TYT.
It was the New York primary. And I remember this because I was in a super fast rush to get home to actually watch. I was watching you guys on my cell phone. And it was nearing the end. It was quite clear that there was election fraud taking place. The Clinton campaign and DNC establishment were working together to deny Bernie Sanders a nomination, especially in New York State, where so many Bernie Sanders supporters and Democratic voters were just taken off, the ballots and everything else.
I was really almost pissed back then because of the Facebook group incidents that were happening.
The Facebook incident too, and at the end of that video coverage of the New York primary, nearing the end, it was. New York was declared for Clinton, allegedly. Cenk Uygur says this, and please let me know if this is correct or not. I heard him say, how do we help Hillary Clinton? And at least how I remember it, you just kind of turned to him and just kind of gave him this look. So, and again, I can't read your mind, but
we've always been trying to figure out what you were thinking in your head
at that moment, because
it's always stuck out to us.
And police, and again, it's been 4 years since 2016, of course. Can you just give us an idea? Give us some closure. What happened during that final coverage of the New York primary? If Cenk said like, hey, how do we help Hillary Clinton?
I honest to God, I wish I could remember. I don't remember that moment. I don't remember him saying that. I don't remember my reaction. So I apologize. I wish I did. Maybe if I watched the video of it, it would jar my memory. But
you had this look of like just abject disgust that just appeared on your face, and it's like, yeah, of course, that seems reasonable.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? We just got confirmation that they overwhelmingly cheated Bernie, and your flex is that we got us to protect. So that's their flex too. And when the squad just went and abandoned us, and Marianne Williamson has described it as she is politically homeless, Cenk Uygur says, no, you got to be nice to them. No, they didn't do anything wrong. It was Jimmy Dore. He made a mess. Jimmy Dore made a mess. And then you see other people saying that I should have maybe just started earlier. Or it was always something to do with I didn't do it right. Well, what the fuck is AOC's job? What is Ayanna Presley's job? What is Ro Khanna's job? It's their job to be strategizing together. What Forced the Vote revealed was that they're not.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's up to a pothead comedian on YouTube to come up with the perfect strategy for us to get Medicare for all, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to now talk about after 2016, because you were still with the Young Turks even when they got that 24 million. And there's a couple of things I want to bring up. Number one, you mentioned
I didn't get any of that money. I didn't get any of that.
No, not asking that. I'm asking about the environment at the Young Turks then, because again, you already stated that people were pulling you aside. We're going to be moving to the center, but
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what the environment was. The environment was everybody that I talked to at the Young Turks had stopped watching the Young Turks news show.
Wow.
Everybody who I talked to who worked there, except for the people on air, had stopped watching that news show.
Wow.
Because it got so Loser Donald, do you remember that?
Oh,
yes.
Oh, that was so annoying.
Oh, that was so dumb. That was dumb.
So annoying. And that was obviously done to entice Clinton donor money. And that was just stupid and disgusting. And so I was beside myself, and I called up Steve-O and I said, hey, we don't watch this fucking show anymore. Why don't we do our own show that comes on at 5:00, and we could be like the rebuttal to the main show, right? But we'll do it respectfully, but we'll provide the progressives with the actual facts of what are happening. And so Steve-O said, this is a great idea. So he called Cenk, and then we were supposed to do it. And then right before we did it, Cenk called me and said, hey, we're going to put it behind a paywall.
I remember that.
What was your reaction with the paywall?
That was the most. That was the most.
Why are you doing?
Yeah, that was
terrifying.
terrifying.
Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? He's like, well, everybody does that. You know, HBO does that. Showtime does that. Why don't we do that? And I'm like, well, because that's not your fucking business model. That's why your business model is to put a show on YouTube and build up a lot of subscribers, and then you make advertising money off it. That's your fucking model. And they still did it anyway. They put me behind a paywall. And so I just thought that I would do enough good work on aggressive progressives that they would see it and they would change the way they were doing their show. I was obviously really wrong, because it wasn't an accident that they were getting Russiagate wrong. That was intentional. They were intentionally pushing establishment propaganda, just like they pushed establishment propaganda against Julian Assange, just like they're pushing establishment propaganda against me. Cenk and his criticism of me sounds exactly like AOC. And Ryan Grimm. They're amazing. Mm-hmm. So once it got revealed that they weren't going to change, I left.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was like I tried to. I don't even know. Anyway. So I left, and when I came to the Young Turks, I was already successful. I'd already had 2 Comedy Central specials, one that in 2008 that was chosen Best of the Year by iTunes and Punchline Magazine. And then I started working with them the next year, and I had a national radio show at that time. I had 2 comedy sets. So Cenk likes to rewrite history. He says I came begging to him for a job. Cenk didn't even give me that. It was Steve-O when Cenk was in New York doing MSNBC.
Oh, yeah.
They called me up and said, would you like to come guest host for us? And I said, sure. And I went in and they said, don't look at the comments. Everybody hates our guest hosts. They only like Cenk. Well, guess what? I did look at the comments, and every commenter loved me. So they immediately offered me a contract and wanted to hire me. Mm-hmm. And so I had a show there starting. And as soon as Cenk found out that Steve-O had given me a show, he canceled it. He took it from being a daily show to a weekly show, which we all know if you do one show, 1 hour a week on YouTube, that's not how you build up a channel on YouTube when you're doing the news.
Yeah.
He wouldn't allow me to follow his strategy. In fact, he's never repeated that strategy, right? Where you make a news show and you do 5 to 8 clips a day, short clips. Well, now the algorithm have changed, but back then, 10 years ago, that's what the algorithm was. And he's never repeated that. He broke the code on how to do YouTube. He never repeated it. And he certainly wasn't going to do it with me. So that I just want to get that, because I saw somebody sent me that thing where Cenk was saying that about how he's helped my career or something. They loved having me. I saved their ass, and then they fundraised off my progressive bona fides. Right. I was the fucking real progressive there. That's why I hosted Aggressive Progressives. Mm-hmm. And I said to Cenk, I couldn't take it anymore. I said, Cenk, when you have the power panel on Fridays, this was after Hillary Clinton won. I said to him, I go, could you, when you have 4 Hillary vote, I said this to the executives at the Young Turks. I said, when you have 4 Hillary voters on a power panel, you can't call yourself alternative news anymore. Just FYI. So when you're all in agreement with the establishment, that's not an alternative news show. So Cenk, can you guarantee me that I can be on every Friday panel? I'll be the progressive voice. I'll be the lefty voice. And he said, no. And I said, why won't you do that? I'm willing to come in and do it for no extra money. I'm willing. Why wouldn't you want your most popular host beside yourself on your Friday power panel when you're going to have these people that nobody cares about? And his answer to me was, I have to make more Jimmy Dores.
What?
And I'm like, which was, he was taking credit for my success, which was bullshit. And what I've asked him since is, hey, Cenk, how's that going? Since you were able to make me, I guess you're able to make more Jimmy Dores. How'd that go? Well, when I quit the Young Turks, he went and addressed the audience, and he said, he goes, people are saying who's going to host. He says, well, I don't have a garage full of Jimmy Dores to just plug in. No shit. No shit. I thought you made me. I thought it was him. He was the one who does that. So he kept me off that panel because he didn't want to offend his Clinton fucking donorship that he was trying to groom. That's why he kept me off the main show, and they kept me off the panel, and they put my show behind a paywall because Cenk was trying to get corporate cash, and he didn't want to offend them.
Wow. I'm sorry you went through that, Jimmy. I had no idea that was.
I was 100% betrayal.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't just betrayed. They betrayed themselves. They're not what they were. They're a corporate entity that is that pushes the establishment narrative. They've just pushed and they're pro-war, every war. Libya, I was against Cenk on Libya the first time in 2014, and then again when Trump did it, and then he calls them Nerf bombs. What kind of what are you, David Frum? Who hosts that fucking show? That is ridiculous, mental pro-war shit from Cenk Uygur and the Young Turks, always.
Yeah.
I went back, I was looking for a clip from Medea Benjamin, and I put a Google search in, and the clip came up from 2010, I think, with him interviewing Medea Benjamin about the Afghanistan war. And Medea Benjamin was saying, we have to get out of there. And Cenk was saying, no, we have to let Barack Obama do his plan. And she's like, it's been 8 years, Cenk, 9 years. How many more years do you want to do this war? And he's like, we got to let Barack Obama do it. So Cenk is always, even for the Afghanistan war, Cenk was wrong. Libya, crazy. He's wrong with Syria, Venezuela. He's wrong on Julian Assange. Is there anything they're not wrong about? They're wrong on hashtag force the vote. No, and now they're telling us that we're not supposed to pressure progressive politicians who are elected. They're literally saying we're not supposed to pressure progressive politicians. Well, let me tell you something, how politics works. Those people who are in Congress are feeling unbelievable institutional pressure to move to the right. They're being pressured by the party. They're being pressured by the party leadership. They're being pressured by the corporations and the billionaire donors, and everybody else is pressuring them to move to the right. The establishment media is. The only people who can push them left are people like us. And so when the independent media don't do that, they're going to move to the right like they just did. They voted for the Patriot Act. They voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth in history with the CARES Act, and then LC lied about it. And then they just did this. They voted for Nancy Pelosi without getting a fucking thing, and then they lied to us that they were getting things. They didn't get pay-go exemption for this. That was already negotiated before. They're lying constantly. So this idea that you're not supposed to call out politicians when they're lying to you, don't listen to people who tell you that. And the people who are telling you that, if you read the comments under their videos, their own fucking audiences is calling them out. So